Hello everyone, welcome to the Daily News Protocol of the Hindu newspaper analysis, contributed by Vishnu IS Academy. Today we are going to see the news articles for the date 22nd April 2022. If you can see the news articles of the 22nd date, we are going to see news about the amendment to the Wildlife Protection Act and also some battery swapping policy of electrical vehicles. Before going into that, let us see the MCQ of the day of yesterday's discussion. Let us see the answer of that question. The question reads as, which of the following statements is or are to identify the correct statement? Clear? So, the first statement says that train tilting results with a constructional defect where the height of the railway line is not properly checked and corrected. So, if we can study the statement here, the train tilting process is nothing but to achieve higher speeds of the trains so that the train tilting can be incorporated into the mechanism of the trains to while it is going through the bends or any turns in the railway lines. I hope you got this point. So, the train tilting is some positive mechanism to increase the speed of the trains. Why? Because while going through any bend or turn, the train tilting will help the trains to increase its speed. So that's why the train tilting process is not a constructional defect, but it is like an advantage of that trains. Nothing but the high speed trains. Okay. So hence the statement is wrong here. And if we consider the second statement, even though the train tilts, it won't go out of the track, but it sustains the pressure occurred because of any curve in the railway line. Yes, it is the main concept of the train tilting process. It doesn't go out of the track, but it sustains the pressure occurred because of the curve in the railway line. So that's how it will help to increase the speed of the train. Clear? So the second statement is correct and the first statement is wrong. So hence the answer is B. Clear? So with this, let us get into the discussion of the topics of today. Our first topic for today is that there are some amendments proposed for the Nidhi rules 2014. What are these Nidhi companies? What are all these? Nidhis are nothing but a company registered under the Companies Act 2013. They are the registered companies and also they work similar to the non-banking financial companies. Okay, they work similar to the non-financial companies, non-banking financial companies, and also they don't need any license of RBI to get registered and also to work forward. Okay, it is also very much important point, and also the RBI doesn't give any license to these companies, but it do give some guidelines. It gives some guidelines to Nidhi companies. Okay, and also the features and benefits provided by the Nidhi companies like lending and giving loans and all will be applicable the members of Nidhi only. It is also very important point. And also those members should be individual members. Only to individual members the lending and depositing functions can be applicable from the Nidhi companies. So these are all the facts regarding the Nidhi companies. Now let's see the news about it. The government is proposing some amendments under the Nidhi rules. Why? Why? Because there is a sharp rise under the number of Nidhi companies in recent days. So as Nidhi companies are increasing in their number, some safeguards and protection and guidelines are required to implement them in a proper way. So that's why the government is proposing some amendments to these Nidhi rules to increase its quality in its function. So if you can see here, the share capital should be 10 lakhs for any government company if it wants to set up as a Nidhi company. Okay, if any public company or government entity wants to set up as a Nidhi company, it first should get declaration from the government. It should first get the declaration from the government to be recognized as Nidhi company, and also it should have share capital at least 10 lakh rupees. Okay, and the promoters and directors of such Nidhi companies should fulfill the requirements required for the Nidhi companies. Okay, these are all main amendments proposed by the government for Nidhi companies. Moving forward, let's see the next news article. We know environmental protection and species conservation, right? So, in that we have an act called as Wildlife Protection Act 1972. And also this act has undergone many amendments. The recent amendment of this was done in the year 2006. So now it is also again in use. Why? Because there is a proposal to this Wildlife Protection Act 1972 to propose some amendments, and a bill is introduced in the parliament called as the Wildlife Protection Amendment Bill 2021. So on that, our Parliament Standing Committee on Science and Technology, Environment, Forest and Climate Change has studied that bill and proposed some amendments to that bill before its sanction. So let us see all those amendments. Before going into that, let us learn few things about the Wildlife Protection Act 1972. Is there any constitutional back in our constitution to protect the environment, to protect any endangered species or the environment? So if we can see that 48A article of DPSP, Directive Principles of State Policy, says that there should be guidelines to protect the environment. It is incorporated in the Constitution under the 42nd Amendment Act in the year 1976. And also we have another article in the Constitution under the part Fundamental Duties. It is nothing but the 51A. It also says to protect the environment, forests and climate and all. Okay, so we have such a constitutional back to protect our environment. So on the back of that, let us see the objectives of the Wildlife Protection Act 1972. Why this act? What does it do to protect the environment? It do have some schedules. The Wildlife Protection Act 1972 have several schedules, right from the schedule 1 to 6. Under that, it protects several species of plants and animals under several conditions. Okay, so before going that, if we see the main objective of this act, that is nothing but it provides safeguards for the protection of the wildlife, flora and fauna, and management of their habitat. It is also important. It also look after the management of the habitat of such species. And also it lays down the restrictions on hunting under these schedules. Let us see the schedules now. The schedules of the Wildlife Protection Act are like this, right from the schedule 1 to schedule 6. If we can see the details of that, the schedule 1 and schedule 2 are very stringent. They protect the endangered species, and also strict punishments will be given if those animals and plant species of that schedules are protected or disturbed from that habitat. Okay, so the endangered species under these schedules will get higher protection under the Wildlife Protection Act 1972. If we can consider the schedule 3 and 4, the not endangered species will be included in that, and the punishments will be given are somewhat lesser than that of the schedule 1 and 2. And also the schedule 5 gives the details that the animals can be hunted. The animals listed under the schedule 5 can be hunted. And also schedule 6 says that the forbidden plants which are forbidden to cultivate are enlisted under the schedule 6. Okay, these are all the existed schedules under the Wildlife Protection Act 1972. Now the Amendment Bill 2021 of Wildlife Protection is suggesting to have 3 such schedules, only 3 schedules, Schedule 1, 2 and 3. Schedule 1 is having providing high protection, and Schedule 2 providing less protection, and Schedule 3 having details about the plant animals, plant species. Okay, so considering this, as we have learnt earlier, our Parliament Standing Committee is suggesting that these 3 schedules are missing majority of number of species and animals. So hence, Parliament Standing Committee is suggesting to recheck these 3 lists and propose again under that bill, the Wildlife Protection Amendment Bill 2021. Okay. And also, if we can see other objectives and functions of the Wildlife Protection Act, it regulates and controls the trade of wild animals. Okay, and also it the schedules of the Act will provide such a different levels of protection. And also it works under the CITES. It is nothing but the Convention on Trade of Endangered Animals of Wildlife, Fauna and Flora. Under CITES, it regulates the species of 38,700 species. So considering that, the Wildlife Protection Act works in collaboration of CITES. Okay. So, and another factor is here that the Wildlife Protection Amendment Bill 21 proposes nearly 50 amendments to the Wildlife Protection Act 1972. So, these are all the facts to learn, and as we have learned earlier, the new bill is having 3 schedules and some proposals to that were being proposed by the Parliament Standing Committee. Okay. Moving forward, let us see the next news article. It is nothing but some new draft regarding the battery swapping policy. The Nidhi Amendments is suggesting a draft policy that is under the battery swapping of electric vehicles. In recent days, we are seeing some battery explodes and explosions of electric vehicles in recent days, like in companies like ePluto and Okinawa and all. So, earlier in last week also, the Pure Electrical Vehicles company has announced some news that it will retake those already purchased electric vehicles back, and it will give that money back. So, considering all these, the Nidhi Aayog is suggesting some battery swapping policy. Why? Because as there is occurring a problem in the batteries of the electric vehicles itself, if we can remove that battery of that electric vehicle, if we can de-link those vehicles with the batteries, the problem will be solved. So hence, by initiating or establishing any battery recharging area centers or any battery swapping mechanisms, the vehicles can be de-linked by the batteries. So hence, the safeguards and the safety can be measured very perfectly. So hence, if we can see the proposals of that draft battery swapping policy, it will have incentives for electric vehicles with swappable batteries. What are the swappable batteries? Those are nothing but the battery, the discharged battery will be exchanged with the charged batteries. So that's why it will help to reduce the cost of the vehicle. Why? Because it will not own any battery of its own. So because of the price levels of the electric vehicles can also be reduced. And also the subsidies to firms manufacturing swappable batteries will be allowed, will be given under this draft battery swapping policy. And also the technical and testing requirements will be checked very perfectly and thoroughly so that to avoid any future such accidents of electric vehicles. And also reduction of GST among other things is also a main point of that battery swapping policy. Okay, and also there are this policy will be implemented in 2 phases. The phase 1 will be for 12 years and the phase 2 will be for 23 years. Okay, under the phase 1, all metropolitan cities having people of more than 4 million, will be undertaken under the phase 1. So, in that phase, all those electric vehicles with battery swappages will be implemented. And also, under the phase 2, all major cities such as state capitals and also UT headquarters having the population more than 5 lakh people will be incorporated under the phase 2 under this policy to have such electric vehicles policy. And also here the comments, any comments and suggestions from the stakeholders will be undertaken under this policy till June 5. So, this facility is also there to that draft policy, and the policy would be valid from the date of its public notification till 2025. Okay. And also demand side incentives offered under existing or new schemes for EV purchase could be made available to electric vehicles. So, the demand will be, the incentives that are occurred from the demand will also be satisfied here under this policy. And also the batteries which will work under the IoT, Internet of Things, can be researched further to avoid any such mistakes in their manufacturing. And also the remote monitoring and the immobilization capabilities will be equipped under these swappable batteries. Okay, all these are the points under this battery swappage policy. Okay, we hope that we will get further the safest electric vehicles. Let us hope to get all those vehicles in near future under such very safety measures, under such policies under the government. These are all the news articles to be discussed for today. We will meet in another interesting session in tomorrow's session. And also let's have some specific and in detailed discussion of current issues. So, here is the ending of the session. Thank you.